Hello guys, and welcome back to another class of our course about the complete introduction to programming with Java. So basically in the past class we talked about the theory of operators and basically how exactly you guys can use operators in order to program with Java. And what I want to do today is pretty simple. I want to simply put everything into application and test how those operators work. So basically, by learning how they work, you will have an introduction as well to Boolean data type. So you guys will see how Boolean data type can work as well. All right, so pretty simple. Let's start. So first step, as always, we create our class, which you guys should already have your method right there. And now what we're going to do, we are going to create a few variables. So our variables will be A, B, C, D. So something pretty simple. And what we'll do is basically compare those variables together. So all our variables will be numerical. And this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to compare them. So let's start. So as always, as I told you at the beginning, what I like to use is I like to use the double data type because I can add, instead of using int data type, integerous data type, I prefer the double. It takes a little bit more space, but once again, this is my favorite one because you can add the amount of decimals that you want. So this is exactly what we're going to do. So you write down your data type first. So in this case, it's going to be double, then A, and then you give a certain value to your number. So let's say it's going to be 1.6. Then pretty simple. You can just copy everything that you have done there and you passed it and simply change the name of the variable. So instead of A, it's going to become B. So let's say it's going to be 2.34. Then we'll have our C, which in this case will be, I don't know, 3. And we'll have our last variable, which will be D. And in this case, it's going to be, let's say, 5, yeah. All right, so last step of our variables. Well, basically right now we have created our variables that we are going to use. Now the last step is pretty simple. We want to test those variables. So you can test them directly in the print function. But what I like to do is really create a variable where I will create the test and then simply print that variable. So something that is pretty simple. So let's do it there. So now what you guys need to do is create a Boolean variable. So it's going to be a Boolean variable. And let's call it try number 1. So if you write down try, it's not going to work. So try number 1. All right, and here what exactly we want to try. So first of all, we want to verify if A is equal to B. So this is the first thing that we have learned. So this is exactly what we're going to do. So we are going to write down A equal to B. And now what we want to do is simply print everything that we have just created. So we're going to print it. So system dot out dot println. And what exactly we want to print? Want to print try 1. Great, we have everything set it up. Now it's time to verify how exactly it will work. So now what's going to happen, Java will verify if A is equal to B. So now in this case, it's false. A is equal to 1.6 and B is equal to 2.34. Let's say, for example, I change my B to 1.6 and I rerun everything. So in this case, as you can see, it's true. Now, let's say I want to do something a little bit more fancy. So instead of using a double data type, I'm going to use a string data type. So in this case, string. So A will be a string. And in this case, it's going to be, let's say, I don't know, hello. Just change this. Great. All right, so we have our string A, which is equal to hello. And now I want to verify if A is equal to B. If I run it, what's going to happen? It will not make sense. Why? Because I'm trying to compare a string with a double, which doesn't make sense. You can't, well, in Java, you can't compare two different data types together. Well, actually in any programming language, because once again, they're not the same data type. So if you want to compare a string, you can compare a string with a string. And the only thing that you can't compare, for example, if hello is greater than hi. So it doesn't make sense. The only thing that you can do is verify if, for example, hello is equal to hello. So let's say, for example, b is a string as well. So we'll write down string here, and we're going to write down hello. So right now it's possible. So as you can see, there is no more error signs. So if we run it, basically this string a, so basically variable number a and the variable b are the same because we're comparing string with string. Now let's say I want to compare hello with hi. What's going to happen is a little bit more different because in this case, hello is not equal to hi. It's not the same thing. So if you guys work with strings or booleans, basically you can compare them. You can't compare them, sorry. And when you compare them, you can only verify if they're equal or not equal. So basically equal, it's like this, and not equal is written like this. So if I run it, basically now it should be true because hello is not equal to hi. So in this case, as you can see, it's true. So this is just a small parenthesis. So how you guys work with strings as well as booleans. So you can simply verify if it's equal or not equal. So which makes a lot of sense. All right, let's come back to the starting point. So pretty simple. We are here with our double data types. Here we go. So first thing, we want to verify if those data types are equal together. So this is what we have verified. Now, if we want to verify if they are one variable is greater than the other, how exactly we'll do this? So this way, I can verify if a, for example, is smaller or equal to b. And let's say, for example, I write down 3 right there and I run it. So as you can see, it's true because b is greater. Now, if, for example, instead of a, I write down d right there, and I try to run it, what's going to happen? It will be false because d in this case is greater than b. And I want to verify if d is greater or equal to b. So basically, those are some examples of basically the comparison operators that we have learned in the past few classes. There are many others, but I don't want to test them all. All right, so right now let's try some logical operators. So basically, if you guys have more than one thing that you want to verify. So let's say, for example, your try one will be, you want to verify if a is equal to b and if b is equal to c. If both values are respected, well, no, let's say if b is greater than a and if b is equal to c. If those two values are respected, you are going to return true, otherwise it's going to be false. So basically, you want to verify if those two things are respected. So how exactly you can do this? So pretty simple, you can do it in 2 steps. So by creating 2 variables, so variable 1 will be try1, you will test if a is equal to b, and variable number 2 will be testing if b is equal to c, for example. Or you can simply use the AND logical operator. So how exactly we write it down is pretty simple. So as I said, the first test will be verifying if b is greater, well in this case b is greater than a. And so how exactly write down our AND? It's going to be like this. And if b is equal to c. So those are the 2 things that we want to verify in this case. So here we go, we have everything. So we want to know if those 2 elements are respected. This is our AND variable. So as you can see, well, our AND logical operator. So as you can see, it's just right there. Here we have our comparison operators. So we want to verify those 2 things. So let's run it to see if it works. So in this case, it should return true because once again, b is greater than a and b is equal to c. Now let's verify another thing. We want to verify if b is greater than d. So in this case, if 3 is greater than 5, by default, it should return us false. So just write it down. So it should return us false because in this case, 5 is greater than 3. So if I want to make this true, what exactly I can do? So I can verify, well, I can use the OR logical operator. And how exactly the OR logical operator works, so pretty simple. We're going to write it down right there. So this way. So what exactly does this mean? It means if one of those elements is respected, I want to return, in this case, true. Otherwise, I will return false. So what exactly does this logical operator do? It simply verifies if one of these two elements works. So let's try it out. So in this case, the first doesn't work, but the second is working because in this case, B is equal to C. And what you can do is you can put them all together. So basically you can verify for this, or let's say you want to verify something else. So in this case, let's say I want to verify if A is equal to, I don't know, well, in this case, that's A is equal to, I don't know, to D. And basically, if one of those operators is right, what's going to happen? It will return me false, and then it will return me true, sorry. And in this case, this operation right there is true. If I want to have a lot of conditions, in this case, it's pretty simple. I will just use the AND operator. So if I want this condition to be true, this condition to be true, this condition to be true, I will simply write down the AND operator everywhere. So let's say here and there. And in this case, it's not gonna work because once again, there is only one condition that is respected, which is B equals to C. It's possible to combine them together. So in this case, it's possible to verify, let's say, for example, I want B greater than D, and I want B equal to C or A equal to B. So in this case, I can do it this way as well. So here, for example, I can write down my OR. So here I will have AND OR. So I want B greater than D. So in this case, B is smaller than D. Let's reduce our D. Let's put it at 2.5. And I want my B equal to C or A equal to D. So A is not equal to D, but B is equal to C. So if I run it, it should give us a true answer because those two elements are respected and this one is not necessarily needed. Well, one of those is not necessarily needed as long as one of those is working. So as you can see, it's not that complicated. This is how you guys use those operators. So instead of writing down all the operations, so try one will be, for example, testing this, try two will be testing this, try three will be testing this. You can simply write it all down in one single line and use comparison operators as well as logical operators in order to verify some elements. So basically this could be really, well, this is actually really important when you guys start to work with more advanced functions, such as, for example, the if function, which is, well, it's a little bit basic, but it's really important in this programming language. And it's pretty important because the if function, the way it works, it's if something happens, if true happens, return something. If false happens, return something else. So basically, all the logic around it works basically with the Boolean data type. So with true or false, and with logical and comparison operators. So as you can see, it's pretty simple to understand it until now. So right now, I'll suggest you to really practice it a little bit so you can create yourself a little bit more of data. You can test strings, verify if strings are equal to strings, numbers are equal to numbers, and same thing with Booleans, just to make yourself familiar. But besides of that, as you can see, it's not that complicated. So that's it for this class, guys, and see you all in our next class.